Hey everybody, welcome to the Beat That Podcast. God damn it, I already fucked up. Can you believe it?
Yes, I can.
You know what? Fuck it. You just do it from now on. This is gonna keep happening.
All right. Well, welcome back everyone to the BeatThatBossCast. I'm here with Daniel and myself, Travis, and today is a day in the spooky month. So
It's
we're going to
true.
be talking about some spooky stuff. And so, again, as I said, my name's Travis. Daniel, anything to add at the very beginning here?
Nah, dude, we all good. But before we get into the spooky stuff, let's talk about what we've been doing. How's your week been? What have you been playing?
It's been all right, dude. Not too bad. Just chilling. I've been playing. You know what I played through that was excellent, actually, was Neo 2's newest DLC, Darkness in the Capital. I just had a chance to go ahead and sit down and play that, and it was terrific. The first DLC that came out for Neo 2 was kind of meh. It was okay. But this one, oh man, balls to the wall. I loved every second of it. There's one area that I think is kind of boring looking, but aside from that, there's new side mission areas, there's new side mission bosses, and old classic returns, and yeah, it's just a ton of fun. The new Neo 2 DLC was totally worth it, so I very much enjoyed that. And I've actually started up Death Stranding.
Hell yeah.
After hearing you talk about it last time and hearing some other people, always before that.
Only been a year.
Yeah, exactly. I'm about 4 or 5 hours in so far, and yeah, I'm really enjoying it. You know what? It feels like literally playing a TV show. Like I feel like I'm playing a TV show.
Yeah, that's
because
accurate.
I think out of the 5 hours I've played, I'll bet 3 hours of it was cutscenes. So
At least.
it was but it's a great story, great setting. So I'm enjoying that so far. How about you? What have you been doing?
Been playing a lot of Hunt Showdown and Final Fantasy 14. My FC leader got me into chocobo racing, which is becoming a huge problem. If you ever wanted Mario Kart but with giant chickens, there it is.
Oh my god!
I
can't believe that's an actual supported feature.
Dude, there's a whole casino. I've just been there for the last 7 days. MSQ? What is that? I gotta level my chicken to 40 to increase his pedigree. No, but I won't. I'll avoid that. But yeah, no, I'm playing a lot of Hunt Showdown. I read the comic The Boys, which I told you a little earlier about, but I didn't go into detail about it. Because after watching season 2, I was like, that was something. I want to check out the comic. And yeah, the comic is... It's hard to describe. Like, it's very edgy, but it's also like... Okay, you know how... the show is edgy, right? I mean, we can both agree with that.
Yeah, a little bit.
But
yeah,
it's also very... It's also... Like, even though there are satirical, even comical moments, it knows when to put that aside for the more serious stuff to push the narrative forward.
Sure, yeah.
The thing with the comics is that it's satirizing the genre so much that even the serious moments you can't take seriously, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Like, even when they're trying to be serious, you can't take it seriously because it's so ridiculous, the stuff that's going on. Not to mention, it's just... Wow, the show took a completely different turn.
Oh, really?
To the point where, yeah, like, I remember seeing some people saying, like, well, I wonder how they're going to do this at the end of the comics. Like, with Black Noir and with some of the other characters. And I'm like, well, based now that what we know about in the show in season 2, yeah, half the stuff is just not going to happen.
Oh, okay.
Like, straight up. Like, the Black Noir twist in the comic is literally... It's impossible to do in a show. Straight up. Because we've seen a glimpse of what he looks like underneath in the show, and no, there's no way.
Right.
Are you gonna read the comics at all?
Nah, dude, I'm not reading the comic.
Okay, then I'm just gonna spoil this twist because it's probably the most interesting thing the comic does. So,
All right.
as you know in the show, the contingency plan against Homelander if he ever goes rogue is his son, right? Well, in the comic, he doesn't have a son, so there's a different kind of contingency plan.
Right.
That contingency plan is Black Noir. But that's not the twist. The twist is that Black Noir is a clone of Homelander, whose sole purpose of being created was to kill the Homelander if he goes insane, which was what happens at the end of the comics. He kills Homelander, and they kill each other, really. Before Butcher, like, fucking fucking pulls his brains out with a crowbar.
Christ.
But the weird thing is that's not the end of the comic either. Like it's there's another like subsection that I don't want to go into in case they do this in the show, but I don't see how they can because Butcher is nowhere near as much of a monster in the show as he is in the comics. Like he is a whole other animal in the comics. Like he's like straight up a massive piece of shit.
Well, I mean, he's not that nice in the show. I guess.
You don't understand. No. He's like the comics version of Butcher makes the show version look like Fairy Godmother.
Oh, you're talking about Butcher. I thought you were talking about Homelander. I was like,
No. I'm talking about Butcher. Homelander is also much more. He's much more psychopathic in the comics.
Got it.
There was one character that I was okay. So. One character in the comic that I absolutely loved was a character called Love Sausage.
That's my favorite name I've heard all day.
And essentially, so he's his powers are nothing special. He's basically a generic Superman, but he's like a fat Russian Santa Claus. And he's a supporting character for the boys, and he's great. I love him. And I was like, man, when are they gonna bring him in for season 3? And then I looked it up. I'm like, wait, what do you mean he was already in the show? What do you mean he was in season 2?
What?
So, do you remember episode 6, the hospital scene? Do you remember the guy with the big dick?
Yeah, oh God, yeah.
They turned Love Sausage into that.
Oh no.
He
does have a big love sausage.
Yeah, but that's such a waste of a character because he's great. He's genuinely one of the best characters in the comic. I love him. So seeing that was a massive disappointment.
Nah, that sucks.
Yeah, so
that was a pretty fucked up scene, I gotta say.
It was. But yeah, that's. I mean, I'm not gonna go further in because I can ramble about the comics like another hour or so. So I'm just gonna move on for that. Been playing a lot of Hunt Showdown. If you don't know what it is a bounty hunting battle royale is the best I can explain it. So you and a team of up to 2 friends, so 3 people, drop into a map with 4 other teams, a total of 12 people per match. The idea is you are hunting between 1 to 3 random monsters that spawn in the area, and the objective is to kill the monster, get the bounties, and extract.
Okay.
So the kicker is depending on the number of monsters that can spawn. I think the most that can spawn in a match is 2, but most of the time you'll only be 1 monster on the map. The other people will also be hunting it. And because the game is like Siege, it's a very sound hoary game. Like you want to keep your ears open for any sound because you can
sure.
use the sound design of the game is top notch. You can hear guns in the distance, and based on the density of the sound, you can determine how far away they are.
That's pretty.
So, what makes the game different from other battle royales? Well, so the idea is when you drop in, you have to find 3 clues, which you use use a mechanic called Dark Sight, right? Which is essentially, think of it like the Assassin's Creed vision,
okay,
Eagle Vision, whatever. And the clues will be glowing blue flies type thing. Okay. And when you pick them up, a section of the map is grayed out to show this is not where the monster is. You have to find 2 more clues. Now, once you find all 3 clues and you find the monster, which by the way, you don't need the clues. If you know the monster spawns well enough, you can probably just go to each area and just find them, or get lucky and spawn right next to it. But once you do that, you go and kill the monster. Once the monster's dead, you can't just pick up the bounties. You have to banish it, and when you banish it, it alerts all other players, hey, the monster's being banished. And if you go into Dark Sight, they will see a lightning bolt going through the sky that shows the exact location where the bounty is.
Okay.
And you have to wait for the bounty meter to go from 1 to 100. So that's already nerve-wracking enough because now,
are you locked into the spot? Like when you're banishing it, can you move around? Or
you can move around. The monster cannot. So it's always there. So what me and my friends we like to do is we like to either Once we find a monster, we either kill it fast and set up traps, or we wait for other people to start fighting it and then finish them off. Now, when it comes to picking up the bounties, only 2 of you can pick it up, but everyone gets the XP as if they get it, right? Okay. The thing that's interesting is that when you open up the map, you can see the people who have the bounties in real time on the map. So like there'll be two flashing like lightning bolts on the map, and it'll flash like every half second, right? So if you're moving west, people can open the map and see, hey, they're heading west. They're heading towards the exit to the northwest. We can go from the north or the south and go around and trying to cut them off. So it's
got it. All right.
But when you pick up a bounty, you also get a boost to your dark sight for 5 seconds, which allows you to basically see if there are any other hunters in your vicinity.
Okay.
I have been addicted to this game for like the past like 4 days. We've been playing it like nightly, nonstop. It's really fucking good. Cool. And the thing that's interesting too is once you get your blood gauge, which is your like, I guess you can call it your battle pass. That's not what it is, but I'm just saying that for just for reference.
Sure.
Once it gets to 11, your characters, when they die, they're gone.
Your progress? Oh yeah, I've heard of this mechanic.
Yeah. So
you get past a certain level, if you die, they're actually like gone.
Yep. Okay. So the idea is death is a part of the game, losing your character is part of the game. So the idea is like, okay, then what's the point, right? If I'm just going to lose my character stuff, well, every time you complete a mission, you get a currency called hunt dollars. I think that's literally what it's called. And you can use that. You can use that to either recruit new hunters who will spawn with random weapons and perks, or you can also use it to buy weapons and tools that to give your hunter at the start. Now, if you're thinking, wait, why would I not just use a level 1 every time to not risk losing all my good stuff? Well, when you get a character past 25, their max rank is 50, but once they're at 25, you can retire them. And each level is with 1,000 XP to your blood gauge, which you can use, which when you level up, you unlock more perks, more weapons, more tools, and various sorts of other things. So the idea is to get a character to 50 if you can, or at least as high as you can, retire them, and based on your level, you can start using better stuff on the next hunt to make it easier, like decoy bombs, hellfire bombs, better lever action rifles or pistols, various things.
Okay, sure. So, do you, like, if somebody gets to level 50 and gets the cool shit, can they get matched with people that don't have the cool shit? Because that kind of sounds like it would suck if you were fighting people with better stuff than...
So, here's the thing. All the guns, like all the guns that are unlockable, like, even the most powerful, like, I use the Martini Henry. It's a single-shot lever action that hits like a fucking truck. Right. But its drawback is it only has 1 round in the chamber, so after you fire, you got to reload. And the legendary versions of the guns are just cosmetic. Like all the guns in the game are straight stats. The other thing too is, hey, let's say you kill someone who has a gun that you think is better. Let's say they have a double barrel shotgun. You can, once you kill them, you can grab the shotgun, bring it with you, and it's in your inventory.
All right, that's cool. I like that. I like that kind of thing for sure. Sounds like a pretty cool game, really.
It's super fun. It looks fucking gorgeous. It's from Crytek, so fucking hell. Even on medium settings, that game is fucking gorgeous.
Nice.
But apart from that, in FF14, right, on a spooky month, I've been playing Dead Space and Doom Eternal: The Ancient Gods.
Okay.
And if anyone thought Doom Eternal base game was hard, you are fucked in Ancient Gods. Like, I'm sure you are familiar with the controversy regarding the new enemy that was in Doom Eternal, the Marauders.
Yeah, like the Shield boys. Yeah,
the Shield Axe boys who start off at the mini boss, but are really people fucking hate fighting them. At least on console, because it's harder to fight. But they decided, hey, how about 2 Marauders?
Oh.
No, hey, how about 3 Marauders? And one of them's in power, so they do more damage and have more health.
That always sounds like fun. That's like Dark Souls. Whenever you kill one of those bosses, and you go back to the room and they've spawned 2 of the bosses.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember the Mirror Knight from Dark Souls 2? How you would spawn? Yeah, okay, so imagine that, but there's 3 of him, and there's an Archvile that's constantly spawning enemies.
Yeah, that sounds hard.
Oh, but it's super fun though. It's so fucking good.
Yeah. Cool, man.
I
Well, that sounds like you've been packing in the games.
Yeah, obviously, put out that new video as well. And I'm actually, dead ass. I think I'm gonna make a video on Hunt Showdown. I think it warrants
Oh
it.
yeah.
It's really fun. I wanna do it.
Oh yeah, you just talked a lot about it. And if you feel passionate about it, might as well do it.
Hell yeah, you know it. All right. So that's my week.
Cool, man.
Maybe we should get into the main event.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. So I think we're gonna start off today with our 4 best horror movies of all time. We'll talk just a little bit about each, and I'm gonna give a few, a few honorable mentions that almost made the list but didn't quite make the cut. But anyway, let's get into it. So I'll go ahead and start with my honorable mentions in number 4 here. So honorable mentions in terms of horror movies, there's a lot of them. So 28 Days Later is still one of my favorite horror movies. I really liked this one. Almost made the list, and I almost kicked off one of the other ones. But the 1970s The Wicker Man is a very, very weird horror movie because it's not like traditional horror. But I'll tell you what, that twist though, that movie is a terrific one. So that's a great one. But I guess on the top here, my number 4 that I'll go ahead and talk about is going to be Let the Right One In.
I've heard about that.
Let the Right One In is a Swedish movie. It was a movie. It's almost a coming of age story for this. So it's about this kid, and he gets bullied at school and stuff, and it's in Sweden, in this like kind of dark part of Sweden, and this new girl moves in next door, but she's not really a girl. She's a vampire, and I got to tell you, some of the psychological horror in that movie is pretty intense because she's just kind of using these people because she's still with the previous boy that she enthralled or whatever, and he's like 60 now, and he's like getting her blood from like killing people to get her blood and shit, and now you see her like kind of like starting to move on to this other kid, help him out because he's getting bullied and everything. And it's just messed up. The ending scene, or one of the ending scenes of that movie, is one of the best scenes ever because of how much restraint the filmmakers used. The only part of that scene that you see is the underwater part of a swimming pool, and it's one of the most terrifying scenes I've seen in any of these movies. And it's terrific. It's not like anything nothing really crazy happens or anything. It's just the implications, and it's really, really well done. So I love that movie. They made a remake that actually wasn't that bad recently. I think it was called Let Me In, and that one wasn't that bad actually, but it doesn't come close to the original. So definitely recommend checking out the Let the Right One In if you want to get spooked. So that's my number 4. What about you?
So number 4, I'm probably going to go with my personal classic, which is Evil Dead 2 with Bruce Campbell. That was probably one of the first horror movies I think I saw, like, full, and that's still one of my favorite movies. The campiness mixed with the, like, body horror is really done well, and it's not the scariest horror movie, right? Like, in fact, I'd say it's kind of comical at a lot of times. But I feel like that's part of the charm of what makes Evil Dead, at least for 2 and then Army of Darkness, where it's just a full-on just action movie. But
that's a comedy right there.
Yeah,
that's one of my favorite movies of all time, and that's absolutely a comedy. But Evil Dead 2 sort of started that trend.
Yeah, exactly. Like Evil Dead 2 is genuine. Like if you haven't seen Evil Dead 2, you should. It's really good. It's kind of dated, but the practical effects are really well done. I would say a lot of the makeup design still holds up. The atmosphere is just fantastic. And once again, it's Bruce Campbell. He's just fantastic.
Yeah, he does a great job in that, absolutely. Alrighty. Well, my number 3, more recent film that I really enjoy was The Witch. I actually am going to put this on my top 4 of all time.
I still need to see that.
Yeah, I still like think about that movie. This is not one of your jump scare slasher movies. And by the way, I really don't like slasher movies on the whole. There's a few that I like. I really liked You're Next. I think that was fun. But I don't like the slasher genre a lot of the time because I think of just how stupid the people are and it bugs me.
I'm gonna get a hot
But
take here.
yeah,
The only good slash movie is Halloween 1.
yeah, exactly. There's very few ones that are entertaining. Like I like the ones where they fight back and they're like, yeah, that's why I like You're Next is because she turns out to be like this crazy survivalist and she's just murking these like killers, which is just too fun to watch. But anyway, yeah, The Witch is not like that at all. It is somber all the way through, like overtones, like the tension only comes from what you don't see and like this foreboding atmosphere. And like, I mean, there's some horrific scenes, like horrific, like individual tension moments, but it's not what I would call a slasher in any means. Plus, the language that he uses, he actually ripped. David Eggers, the guy who directed it, he actually used old diaries from that time period to write the script. So the script sounds completely authentic to the time, and yeah, it's just a terrific movie if you're in for the long haul scare. Where I think I saw a quote on the back of a box for it that sums it up perfectly, which is, "It feels like something that you should not be watching." It just you feel off the whole time, and it was great. So I really enjoyed that one. That's my number 3.
Yeah, I've been wanting to watch that. I keep putting it off though. Like I don't know why.
Yeah,
Like
it's a great month to do it, man.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna watch it later
Turn
this
the lights
week.
off and
Definitely,
check that bad boy
because
out.
I've been wanting to watch it for quite a bit. I think it's on Netflix or Hulu or Prime. It's somewhere. Yeah.
It's somewhere.
So yeah, for my number 3, I think I'm gonna go with the. Don't you love when your brain is like no? The
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's great, right? Babadook. I'm going.
Just no. The Babadook.
Yep, the Babadook. So the Babadook is probably one of the more controversial like horror movies I've seen. People either love it or absolutely hate it. But like, and to be fair, I completely understand both sides. like the kid can be really fucking annoying and grating during the whole thing, but I also appreciate the cinematography of the film, and I also like the message it has about mental illness, and I think overall it's a very good tension filled movie that's sole purpose is to just similar, I guess, to The Witch, where it's trying to instill a sense of uneasiness to you, where you know something's off. You like, is the mother going crazy? Is she not? Is there something wrong with the child, like paranormally, or is this just him?
Right.
Like it does a lot of good parallels to mental illness that I actually really enjoyed.
I watched that movie. I liked it too. I watched that movie and I went in and I'd say for the about first half an hour, I fucking hated it. Like that kid was the most annoying child in any movie I've ever seen, and I was just like, Jesus Christ, kill him, just kill him. And but actually, as the movie progressed more and more, I actually liked it a lot more because it sort of flips the table on your expectation for it, and I liked it a lot. It's a little bit different than The Witch necessarily because it's different types of tension, but it's the same sort of idea where it's trying to build to something for the whole movie. And I like the way that it builds like that, that suspense of what is going to happen. And so, yeah, I like the Babadook too. That was a good one.
Yeah. Really not much more to say there. So let's move on to your number 2.
All right. Well, I'm going to move on to 2 that are pretty obvious, and we may have crossovers here. I don't know. We haven't discussed it before, but my number 2 is going to be The Thing.
Yes.
John Carpenter's 1982. Yeah.
That is on my list.
Obviously not the horrendous new one that came out.
Oh, don't get me started.
Or the old one, but the one that's the classic, the John Carpenter one.
The only one that matters.
Honestly, like there's so much to say about it. It is just a terrific film, and this is like the perfect antithesis to slasher movies because all of the characters actually do intelligent things for the entire movie, and it's something that is so rare in film, especially in horror in that genre. Where I mean, I would say that 70% of all characters in all horror movies are just the dumbest people on earth, and you're just like, please die. Yeah, you deserve it. You deserve it. The Thing takes that on its head. They always stay. They stay in groups of 2. They test the blood. They do all these things that are just really smart to try and combat this thing, and that makes it even more terrifying because they're actually thinking rationally against this horrifying monster, trying to figure it out and everything, and then the paranoia that it seeps into you because you never know who's an actual thing is just a terrific feeling. So, and of course the effects. I mean, the effects are
They still
second to
hold
none.
up, like straight
They
up.
still hold up today, and they're still as disgusting and horrifying as they ever were. So it's really a testament to good practical effects can make a movie just A tier. So
For
that's, I
sure,
mean,
for
was that
sure.
one of yours?
Yeah, no, that was my number 3 too. Like, or number 2 as well. Like, I've actually been wanting to rewatch it, but it's not on any streaming services. I mean, technically it's on Amazon Prime, but you have to pay for it. I'm like, oh, so might as well not be on there.
Right, yeah.
So, but yeah, no, that's my number 2. So, if we're done talking about The Thing, I'm gonna move on to my number 1, which you might have as well, and
Yeah,
that
we'll
is,
see.
it's obvious, it's Alien.
Yeah, that's my number.
That's the one. That's what. Yeah, come on. When you're talking about horror movies, you can't omit Alien. Still one of the best alien horror movies made, and then and that only had one sequel. Crazy, right? They never made any more. Only got Aliens.
Yeah. Yeah. No, Alien is just it's just a masterpiece, man. I think out of everything, the set designer on Alien deserves just an extra $1 million every year for creating
H.R. Geiger, man, he is like
damp,
well, hold on a
but
sec.
futuristic.
You cut out a lot, which is
Oh,
why
did
I was
I?
like,
I'm
yeah, I
sorry.
thought you stopped, which is why I was going in. Just start over from the top.
Oh, my bad. Well, yeah, no, I was just saying that the set designer for Alien was incredible. They really built some imaginative and incredible sets there that were a ton of fun to like watch the alien crawl through and watch the people try and get through, and not to mention one of the most memorable characters in film, Ripley. So that's just a terrific horror film all around.
Hell yeah! Like and H.R. Geiger's design of the alien is still just top tier. Like I like his artwork, man. It is something else. It instills a sense of unease that no other like art I would say has in me.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, it's spooky. Isn't there a new game coming out about his art? I can't remember the name of it now.
Scorn, yes, it is inspired by the art of H.R. Geiger. It's coming out next year. They just announced. So
Oh, okay.
I don't know when, but I'm really excited. I hope it doesn't turn out like Agony, because Agony was, well, it was Agony.
It's funny. We went through our lists, and one of the ones that's usually considered a classic too, neither of us mentioned. But I still like this film, obviously. But The Shining wasn't on either of our lists.
Yeah, that's true.
It's interestingly. I mean, I love The Shining, but again, I think I'd still stick with the four I chose.
Yeah, same. Plus, I watched The Shining once when I was like little. I barely remember much about it.
Ah, okay.
Like I remember the iconic scenes because they're memed to death in like plenty of shows. But
Yeah.
but yeah, the reason why is because it's been so long since I've seen it, so I just don't remember enough to talk about it at length. Of course, that's most of these movies, but But we're not saying for best ones. We're talking about our favorites.
Exactly. That's the key difference there. That's why I like the number 4, because we obviously can't talk about all the best ones ever. It's just our picks.
Oh yeah, for sure. Is that it for the movie segment? Want to move on to the games, or do you want to say a little bit more about Alien?
No, I think we're good. Let's head into the games.
All right, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So again, we're going to talk about our 4 favorite or top tier horror games of all time. And to be honest with you, I haven't played a ton of horror games, so my list is going to be pretty copycat here from the ones I've played. But I'm actually going to start off, and I'm going to stick basically my opinions on these are going to base mostly on the horror aspect. Like which of these games scared me the most, not necessarily that they were better. So, for example, I'm going to start off with Resident Evil 7.
That's a good one.
That came out. Yeah, and I really enjoyed Resident Evil 7, but I think that I would prefer Resident Evil 2 as a video game, but as a horror game, I think Resident Evil 7 spooked me definitely more, and especially in the first 6 to 7 hours.
Oh yeah, just
it was,
wandering the mansion is like
oh, God,
one of the most
doing the mansion
terrifying
thing,
things.
having Jack bust through the wall into me and like chase me down, had my like arm cut off, like it was some crazy stuff and really, innovative boss fights. You had a car in a boss fight. You had like that weird spider, like a lot of cool things in that first couple hours. The ending is good. Like it's not great, but the very ending is great, but the like midsection to the very ending was kind of it was okay.
Are you talking about
But
the mines?
the horror in the beginning was really terrific.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like Resident Evil 7 I actually platinumed.
Oh, wow.
Like I was not expecting it to be as good as it was, especially after 6.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
and I remember the first thing that caught my eye was when they announced it. Was like, wait, this looks like PT. And then it turns out, oh yeah, because they were inspired by PT, because PT is still
Right.
fucking god tier, which we'll get into
Yeah.
more later. But yeah, no, RE7 was a really good surprise. Everything from the environment design to the to the boss fights, even to like the upgrades you have, were it all felt very natural. Like every time you got a new weapon, it felt like a natural progression.
I liked how there wasn't that many enemies either. Like, there's not that many enemies in the game, so when you actually run into one or you run into a boss fight, it's genuinely scary. Like, you have these moments where you're like, oh, geez.
I think that would be my one criticism, is that the molded were just not as interesting as an enemy type. But they still did a good job maintaining the atmosphere.
That's why I liked the molded in the first area, because like they were scary in the first area, and they hit me hard, and like I got killed by them a couple times. But as like because they come up so frequently, they like again in the middle and toward the end, it does sort of take a little bit away from their overall scare factor.
All I could think is just, man, what if they made RE2 remake first person? How terrifying that would be.
It'd probably be pretty scary. I
Dude.
definitely screamed like a little girl when Tyler was chasing me.
Mr. X comes and just clotheslines
It's
you.
on my Twitch. It's on my Twitch where I literally ran the wrong way.
Oh my god, that's right!
Mr. X literally I'm like running through zombies getting bit, and then Mr. X comes out of the hallway and just bonks me. Oh god.
I like cut G.
All right, how about you? What's your one here?
Number 4 is, I'm probably going to go with Alien Isolation.
Okay.
Alien Isolation is probably the best Alien game to have ever come out. Just bar none.
Sure. Yeah, I
And
definitely agree with that.
And apart from like the last 4 hours, which I felt was unnecessary, like that game still fucking terrifies me.
Yeah.
Like nothing beat just walking through the abandoned space station and just jumping at the sound of something scurrying. Especially when you get to the facehuggers, man. Fuck those things.
I never finished that game. I played about 4 hours or so into it, so I only got to experience the necromorph. But even in those
the
4 hours,
xenomorph,
the
you mean?
Definitely. Oh, sorry.
You're thinking of the other game.
My brain's going somewhere in the future. Xenomorph, yes, Xenomorph. But yeah. Anyway, I only played about 4 hours, and he still scared me. I remember getting pulled out of a locker that I was hiding in.
Oh yeah.
Like, what? I was like, "What? Are you kidding?"
Dude, that's one of the games I want to play with that eye tracking and like voice tracking like tech, because like when you have to hold your breath, if you breathe while your mic is on, it will hear it.
Oh,
which is insane. And I'm like, yo, that sounds like a whole different experience. And that's not even VR. That's the crazy part.
That sounds terrifying. I don't know. I don't know, Chief. That sounds terrifying.
Hey man, I'd try it once. Probably won't go through the whole game at that, because fuck that. But no, like the design of the levels is top tier. The sound design is amazing. The story was more interesting than I was expecting. Honestly, I was really satisfied with what the story actually ended up being.
Nice.
And I really liked the tools you had at your disposal. So you can't kill the xenomorph, obviously, right? Because if you kill it, then the threat's gone, and they can't have that.
Right.
But they give you enough tools at your disposal to distract it, lure it away, or deal with the other enemies like the androids or other people. And other people are probably scarier, I would say, than the xenomorph.
Yeah.
Because they can fuck you up. They have guns, and that game is not friendly the people who want to play on easy.
I remember watching some streamer or something. They were playing through Alien Isolation, and there was like a survivor, and he like threw a sound bomb near the survivor, and the xenomorph came out of nowhere.
Oh yeah,
them.
yeah. So the way
like,
they do that, from what I remember reading this, once the xenomorph is introduced as like an ever present threat, it's always following you. Like it's always within like a room near you. Like that's how they keep tension, because like it wouldn't be as tensionful if you knew it was on the other side of the map.
Yeah, right, yeah.
So like the idea is they have it near, and certain things trigger it, right? Whether you're walking too loud, or something gets bumped, or an android or a human starts making noise, it'll go towards that.
Sure.
Overall,
man, well, yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah, overall, Alien Isolation is fantastic, apart from the last 4 hours, but which is why it's so low on the list, I would say.
Right.
Oh.
All right, well, let me go ahead and get on to my next one here. So, I know I just said that I was basing him off, like, scare factor and the horror quality, but I'm going to go a little bit of a different line here, and this isn't, like, it's still the same sort of genre, but while I love Control, I don't think that that's quite a horror game, so I'm going to go with Alan Wake. Alan Wake, back in the day, was just a terrific game. I really enjoyed going through Alan Wake, and it had some moments in there where it was spooky. I still remember the first diner that you go to, and there's like a darkened hallway going back to the bathroom, and I was like, I don't want to go back there. I don't want to go back there. I know it's back there. I'm not going back there. And just going through the whole game where darkness is like, the villain and stuff. And, it was more combat oriented, of course. You had to shoot some, guys and shine your light on them. But there was definitely a lot of moments that were genuinely scary. I still also remember the asylum scene or whatever, where they think they're trying to convince you that you're crazy. And then when that goes down, when the lights start flickering out and stuff, oh, that is a terrific sequence. So I really enjoy that game, and I would consider that a horror game, at least in my eyes.
I'd say it is.
Really
enjoyed it. Definitely. Like, I've been so long since I've played it, so I really can't comment much about it because it's literally been so long. But yeah, that definitely classifies as more psychological horror for sure.
Right, exactly. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. So how about you? What's your next one?
Okay, so I know what my final two are. One of them we will talk at length because we both know what it is. But this one, I was teeter-tottering between two. I was teeter-tottering between Metro 2033 and The Evil Within 2. And I think I'm going to have to go with Metro 2033. I was going more towards Evil Within 2 more and more, but then I remembered, like, well, but Evil Within 2 didn't really scare me as much, even though it's considered a horror game. It's closer to, like, RE4 in terms of, like, horrorness. Right? But 2033, Metro 2033, and I guess the series as a whole, has to be one of the most atmospheric games I think I've played.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say it is bar none, second to none. No one can outshine it. Like the claustrophobic feeling of patrolling the metro while either hunting or being hunted by other factions or even the monsters. It's fucking fantastic.
Oh yeah, that one's a great one. I played a little bit of because I got the redux of the two games. I didn't play too much 2033, but I played Last Light a lot. I finished Last Light and then played it again, and Last Light was awesome. Last Light, same thing. That the way that they can construct an atmosphere or a feeling, or that the whole world building aspect that they put into that is amazing. Going through, and it's funny, like we talk about horror as if there has to be some sort of monster or some sort of evil entity, but the horror that you see at the hands of humans in the Nazis and the Soviets or the communists in the trains is just as messed up, if not worse. So
oh yeah, for sure.
I definitely agree that those deserve to be on the list there. Those.
It also helps that the story is genuinely fantastic and has a very interesting narrative.
Yeah.
With a very interesting, morally gray like ending. I mean, that's the beauty of 2033 is that you have a choice, which obviously one becomes canon in Last Light and Exodus. But the thing that's interesting about the choice is that both are right and wrong.
Right.
Like there's really no easy choice. And then you take into account that in the entire series, how you deal with enemies, particularly humans, actually affects it as well. It affects the overall world state. Which I always like that. I always like the idea of your actions in the game influencing the world. That's why I like games like Infamous and Witcher 3. Even though Infamous is probably the more cheap example because it's very binary. But it was a good start that got me into this type of like system, which is why I like Metro 2033, Last Light, and Exodus. I like Witcher 3. I like
Yeah.
there was another game that did it, but I can't remember it. Either
No
way.
worries. I mean, there's a lot of games that having those impactful choices.
Oh, AC Odyssey.
Nice. Okay.
Assassin's Creed Odyssey did it as well, which is what I really liked.
AC Odyssey. I think you said Easy Odyssey. I was like, what is that?
I don't know what Easy Odyssey is.
AC Odyssey. Yeah. That was a terrific game. That almost made my top 4 of the generation. I forgot to mention it in our cast, but I really enjoyed it. That was a big surprise for me how much I enjoyed that one. Alrighty, well, let's see. Let's go on to my number 2 here, and I'm going back in time for this particular entry. This one's going deep back, and let's see if you remember this one. Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem.
I never played that. I watched the playthrough, actually. I watched the best friends play it, like, years ago. But, yeah, that's a good one.
Oh, it was terrifying. I didn't have a GameCube at the time, but I went over to my buddy's place, and he was like, yeah, I got a GameCube. And I'm thinking, Nintendo, yeah, all right, whatever. They don't have any hardcore games. I don't care about that.
Says the man with the system that has RE4 that debuted on it.
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah, again, these are things I like. But at the time, I was like 12, and I was like, nah, I don't, whatever. And, but anyway, I went over there, and we played through Sanity's Requiem for like 7 hours straight, and it was probably some of the most terrifying 7 hours that I've watched. It was crazy what they were able to do. So, Sanity's Requiem, basically, you have a sanity meter where, the crazier things happen as your sanity rises, and if you lose it entirely, you die. So even if you're in the vicinity of these crazy things that are happening, you start to have your sanity meter rise, which is just a tension-infused mechanic, and then the game would just mess with you. This game would pretend like your TV was shutting off, like your game saves were getting corrupted, like on the screen, that your game save was corrupted, and like there was some nasty things that happened in that game.
That's some Kojima level shit, like with Metal Gear Solid 1 to PS2 or PS1.
Oh, it was just an experience, dude, going through that, and yeah, I loved it. I mean, again, it was sort of like almost like Dark Tomb Raider. Because like the actual action when you got into it wasn't that scary, but when it started messing with your head and it started doing these like weird things on the screen and the world would turn upside down or whatever, it was really cool, especially for the time back in I think it was 2000 or something.
I might emulate that.
But it was crazy. So that's definitely going to be on my list pretty much forever.
All right, yeah, that's a good one. I really do want to play it, but I don't have a GameCube anymore. But I could probably emulate it somewhere.
Yeah, right. I mean, you could just watch it; it'd be cool too. But
that's true.
Anyway, you're up.
Okay, so in addition to games with a sanity meter, I feel there is no other perfect game for my number 2 than Amnesia: The Dark Descent. Because if we're talking about atmospheric horror games and games that just fill you with tension, Amnesia is definitely up there. And much like, what was it called? Eternal Darkness? Eternal Darkness, yeah.
Yeah.
Much like Eternal Darkness, you have a sanity meter that raises when you see monsters or in the dark for too long. And exploring the mansion in that game has to have been one of the most terrifying things I think I did in a video game. Like, it got to a point where I literally did not want to play because of how freaked out I was getting.
Right. You gotta set the controller down, take a break.
Exactly. And here's the thing. I don't want to say anything particular about it in case anyone still hasn't played Amnesia: The Dark Descent. Don't do Machine for Pigs. It's shit. I haven't heard anything about the new one, Rebirth. I hope it's good because Dark Descent is amazing. But if you're looking for a tension-filled, atmospheric, just immersive horror game, Amnesia is top tier. I adore that game. It's definitely one of the best horror games I think ever made, I would say.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things about that game. I remember I was watching something, again, I don't remember exactly what it was, but there's something where you have to like stay on boxes, like out
You
of
might have been
line or
watching me
something.
stream it.
Yeah, yeah, that's I think that's what it
Yeah,
was. I think it was
yeah,
watching
that
you
was
stream
streaming.
it.
Yeah, and I got to the point where we had to walk through the flooded basement, and you have to
Yeah,
walk
the
in the
flooded
boxes. There's
basement.
something invisible there, and you can't see
Yeah,
it.
dude. You can't see it. You can't fight it. You just gotta like hop from box to box. That seemed like a real tense
That
setup
shit
moment.
fucked me
That
up.
was
That
really
was
cool.
real. Because I got playing. It was like 11 or 12 at night. So like I was like full mood in. Like that was fucking with me hard.
Oh yeah, oh, yeah. All right. Well, I think I'm gonna move on to the final top one here, and we may have the same one, but may not here.
I'd be surprised if we did.
My final one is Dead Space.
Hell yeah.
Dead Space. Yeah, Dead Space is incredible. It was a tough choice for me between Dead Space and Dead Space 2, but I feel like Dead Space really started the series off on the right foot, what it was trying to accomplish, and it's definitely a little bit more of a horror game.
Yeah, I was gonna say Dead Space 2 is a lot more actiony.
Anyway, yeah, Dead Space was just an amazing game. Like again, I think one thing that we can say about all these is that atmosphere reigns supreme here. The atmosphere within Dead Space, it was a perfect sort of combination of like Alien and Event Horizon. Like you had these incredible inspirations for the game, incredibly like spooky mechanical areas, and the monsters were terrific. You know, you had to cut off their limbs to kill them. They jumped out of every any vent. You know, they were the necromorphs, as I had previously said instead of xenomorph, were a ton of fun to face off against, just due to the sawing off their limbs mechanic and the fact that they were scary as hell.
Yeah, it's funny because like, it's one of the few horror games that allows you to fight back and kill the monsters, but still instills that level of tension that you would get from Amnesia or Alien or even Metro. Like that, like atmosphere wise, that game is top tier. The other thing too is it was a big risk for Visceral Games. Because that was at a time when EA was actually funding all sorts of random bullshit. So the fact that they allowed them to even make a horror game that was that gruesome from a major studio was impressive.
Yeah. There was. I remember that it was just EA at the time. If I'm not mistaken, I believe
That's right. They did not exist. It was
created after.
That's right. It was a small team.
Of Dead Space, and there was a small team within EA, and they made this great game. That was you're right, surprising.
Then they made a really good more action-packed sequel, and then they never made another one ever again. Crazy how all these games just stop.
Yeah, 3 wasn't the best. I mean, I honestly the most fun I've had was when we were playing together on PlayStation Now for a little bit, which admittedly was real smooth. And I actually had some good times doing that.
Yeah, and I will say this:
in general, was not great.
The best parts of 3 are the exclusive co-op missions, where it's all about delving into the second character's Carver's like psychological mind as it's deteriorating.
Right.
Like that stuff's genuinely great, but unfortunately, it's in Dead Space 3, so it might as well not exist.
Yeah, Dead Space 3 decided that instead of necromorphs, let's have people with guns.
God, yeah, crouching over the top cover mechanics. Fuck yeah, that's what I think of when I think of Dead Space.
Exactly. I'm like, you know what I want from Dead Space? Gears of War. And I'm like, I just don't understand what they were thinking. But regardless, they made 2 great games before that, so and I love the lore there too. The whole lore that they built with Unitology and the markers and all that stuff.
Even the science behind the planet cracking ships and the reason why the engineer suits look like they do. I mean, have you ever looked into why they look like that and why the plasma cutter is the way it is?
No, I haven't.
So the engineering suit, like you look at it, like wait, how is that an engineering suit? It looks like like some type of weird scuba suit. Well,
right.
Each in Dead Space 1 at least, each subsequent level, it has more armor plating on it, it has more patchwork on it, and that's for different levels of heat to stand. Because the idea was that when using the plasma cutter, you don't use it from a distance. You go to the rock, you place the barrel on the rock, and then fire. And the suit is supposed to, and when that happens, you get a lot of like heat blowback from the plasma shot. So the suit is to protect the user from that damage. But also, the heavier it is means they can use higher level plasma cutters because that thing kicks like a motherfucker. So their suit has to have an implementation to keep their arm steady and prevent it from dislocating.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. I mean, I didn't know any of that. But
It's fucking wild.
It all makes sense. They went into a lot of detail with that game.
God, Dead Space. Yeah, I like I said earlier at the podcast, I was replaying it because PC version's a little wonky, but I got it to work, which is good.
That's good.
Playing with a controller because mouse and keyboard controls are really fucked.
I believe you.
There's a horrible mouse acceleration issue that I can't seem to fix. And apparently it's tied to the VSync, but I can't turn off VSync because every time I do, my screen tears like a motherfucker. So, yeah, controller it is for those games.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Oh, cool. Well, it sounds like we covered our top games, but I think it would be kind of cool to go into sort of why we like these games and why they're successful.
Oh, for sure.
Games, because like a lot of these games, there's a lot of bad horror games out there. There's a lot of games that try and be scary, and then they just don't do it. They can't get it done.
Then there's a lot of games that aren't horror games, but are so bad they might as well be.
And speaking to that, there's a lot of sections of like non-horror game that are like terrifying, that are like super scary. I still remember going through BioShock, and we have that dentist office or whatever.
Oh God, yeah.
And the dentist comes up behind you, and I just turned around and like screamed so loudly that my parents woke up like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm fine. It's fine. I'm fine in here. Normal day." But anyway, it was. I think it's kind of interesting to delve into that. So one of the main things that we mentioned before was atmosphere. I think that's one of the big keys to making these games sort of work, is creating a successful and consistent atmosphere.
Oh yeah, because if it's not consistent and you can't immerse the player in it, then the horror is it's just not going to work, like straight up.
Yeah, exactly. If a player is going through Dead Space and like sitting there like wondering why this area looks like that, or what happened, like what's going on technologically with that area over there, then you're not immersed in the actual gameplay. But if you're able to actually immerse yourself and not think too much and just kind of go through these spooky environments, then you really kind of get deeper into the experience. So I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah, I would say another big part is, hey, horror devs, limit jump scares or just don't have them. Because here's the thing about jump scares. They're not scary. They don't elicit any type of fear. They elicit a reaction, a fight or flight reaction in you. And it doesn't make you scared. It just makes you annoyed. And like obviously, sometimes jump scares can work, right? If it's like once in a while when you're not expecting it, especially when the atmosphere is just right. Like that section in Dead Space when you're... I don't remember the exact area, but you're walking through a big open area. You have to get from one side to the other. And the music's slowly building. You hear skittering, but you don't see anything. And then all of a sudden, bam, something just hits you from behind.
Oh, yeah.
Like, jump scares, I would say, work in limited capacity and in tandem with the build-up. Like, you can't... it can't just be Outlast, where it's just every other thing is a jump scare.
Yeah, exactly. I think that... The moment that I was thinking of from Dead Space that you're talking about is actually Dead Space 2, where you go back to the Ishimura.
Yeah.
And you have this huge section of the Ishimura where nothing happens. And you're just going and you're walking through the area and it's getting spookier and spookier because you've been fighting aliens this whole time, but nothing's showing up. So for like 10 straight minutes, like no action, no scares, just slowly building, and then finally you're walking down the end of the Ishimura, and one of the big monsters jumps out of something, and that was genuinely scary.
The reason that works too is the fact that it's the exact same layout as it was in the original game. So if people who play the original game are expecting certain things to be there, but they aren't. In fact, they're flipped on their head. So like it's one of those sections that I would say it still works on its own, but it's much better if you played the first one, because having the knowledge of the Ishimura and knowing where all the fucked up shit happens in those areas makes that part really tense.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's funny, too, because I think that... I think good jump scares are good. I think that having, like... But the problem is the frequency and the sort of... Oh god, my brain's doing a no thing. Like frequency and the overall what's happening around you, and if it fits the moment. There's a word for that I can't think of right now. But that sort of idea is where those jump scares can come out and really work. So, for example, we talked about Alien Isolation, which isn't like jump scares necessarily, where you have that sort of thing, but there's moments where that alien will come out of like absolutely nowhere and technically is a jump scare, but it's still part of the environment. It's not out of place. It's not like
Yeah,
it's
it's
completely
organic.
unexpected. Exactly. So I think having those kind of like sort of sudden scares instead of just like, there's a puppet in a box that pops out, right? Are are
Or
really like
yeah,
well done and
or like you're
makes it
scanning a
more
dark room and out of the corner of your eye you see something move. And like, wait,
and
like
it's out there. Like that's the whole thing is that it's out there looking for you. So you're like looking around and stuff. But if you don't see it coming and it pops up behind you, you know that you fucked up and you should have looked behind you. So it's just
oh
sort of
yeah,
that mind game. Another thing I think that like horror games in general are really good with a lot of time, and it's a lot of the reason that the good Resident Evils are good is the survival aspect of it. Where you're using ammo, you're using materials, and and all your different resources to get through certain situations, but you're constantly sort of juggling, like running out of ammo, running out of your resources while you're fighting these like horrifying things, because that's a whole game in and of itself. I mean, I still remember Resident Evil 2, at the very end of that game, I had such a gigantic problem with Tyrant because I had handgun ammo and I
oh
couldn't
yeah,
fucking
that's
shoot him with
right.
that.
You had no
And that
magnum
was it.
shots.
And that was it, yeah. And I finally beat that guy, but he was a pain in the ass because I had run out of my materials while going through to him. So, I think that those sort of balance each other out a lot of the times in
Yeah,
these
the
kind of
resource
survival
management definitely.
horror scenarios. Yeah.
Yes, we talk about atmosphere, talk about resource management. I think the other thing is, especially when you're making a game, like the environment is key. Like there are certain horror games where you're always going to remember the location. I'm always going to remember the Spencer Mansion from Resident Evil 1. I'm always going to remember the Ishimura from Dead Space.
Yep.
Like if you like, I would say that should be the first thing you should work on. Like if you don't have a good environment, why are you even bothering?
Right.
Especially
Yeah, I mean,
because the environment also tells its own story. You know?
oh, absolutely. I mean, environmental storytelling is a huge part of horror game. Having an environment that feels like something happened here. Like 9 times out of 10, you're not going to a peaceful pasture farm. You're going somewhere where shit went down, and you want to see that in the environment. You want to see what happened and like follow the trail and have that kind of experience. I mean, another great example of environment work in one of these games was Resident Evil 7. The opening manner of Resident Evil 7 is so detailed with just individual little pieces. Like there's a hidden room above the son's room where he locked a kid and it's all messed up in there, and then you got like the underground areas, like building that sort of environment that leads through what they're trying to tell you or what the story is or what the enemy is even really can add a ton
Oh
to
yeah.
these sort of.
I would say another good example is the waiting room section in Alien Isolation, where when you first arrive, you have to go through like the I guess the airport waiting room
Oh,
area,
right.
and you can see like as you go further in, stuff is like luggage is spread about more frequently. There's more broken lights. You see like things are being torn down as if something was chasing people. Then you come across a few dead bodies, and you see it's one of those things where it's like using the environment, you can build sort of a show to indicate to the player what happened here,
Right.
and that's a very I would say it's a very important thing in build. I'm just repeating the same thing, but
Oh,
you know what I'm saying.
no, I completely agree. I think that that's important. And
Can you tell I'm
I
not
think another
great at
thing
ad
too is
lib?
that what's up?
Can you tell I'm not great at ad libbing?
No, it's all good. Well, the other thing too is that like you need to have a good villain or monster or series of monsters or enemy type or whatever in these kind of games. Because like the worst thing is when you run into like a monster that you don't care about anymore. Like that's again sort of what happened again Resident Evil 7 is still one of my top horror games just because of that opening 6 to 7 hours. But as you were saying, through the ending of it, like the enemies of the molded got a lot less scary because, yeah, I've dealt with these guys.
And you see what they can do. They're very limited.
Yeah, exactly. So having a good like monster that's that does a lot of different things or different monster types or whatever, just varying up the gameplay with different enemy types is pretty important to those kind.
For sure.
Cool.
Is that it? Do you want to talk about maybe stuff you're excited for coming up? Anything you're looking forward to?
Are you kidding me? It's about to be November, bruh.
Yeah, say goodbye to your wallet.
November is going off the chain. Like, again, there's the PS5. There's the PS5 coming out, which I'm probably gonna pick up and everything. And there's a couple titles on there that I'm excited for. Like, I'm excited for Godfall, and I'm excited for Demon, of course. But even excluding the next gen stuff that's coming out, November is chock full of stuff I can't wait to play. I mean, obviously Cyberpunk 2077 is coming out, and that's gonna devour my life as soon as I get my hands on that. We've got a new Borderlands 3 patch coming out with brand new skill trees. Can't wait for that. We got the new Destiny expansion, which we're all going to be grinding to get to the raid, which is I can't wait for a new. And of course, I mean, there's Valhalla. I mean, again, November.
There's too much in November. There's way too much.
Stupid. November is stupid with how much is coming out. What about you? What are you specifically, aside from? Let's just talk about how big our erections are for Cyberpunk 2077, because they're massive.
Oh yeah, it's so massive. So I'll just oversee that because my hype level for Cyberpunk is probably just as much as yours. But in terms of stuff that are closer to release, Ghost Runner unlocks in a couple days. I'm really excited to play that. That'll hold me over well and good into Cyberpunk. It's a futuristic. It's a Cyberpunk one hit platforming game. So you play basically a cyber ninja, and the idea, I don't know much about the story, but I know that the idea is you have levels you go through. You can kill enemies in one hit, but they can kill you in one hit, and you use the tools at your disposal to try and get through it as efficiently as possible with the least amount of deaths. I played the demo like 15 times now. It's so fucking good. Apart from that, Watch Dogs Legion is probably one of the few games I'm actually interested in.
Oh, right, yeah.
I'm one of the few people that likes Watch Dogs 2. Watch Dogs 1 was meh. I beat that game, but
I played Watch Dogs 1. It was alright. It was alright. I never played Watch Dogs 2.
I liked Watch Dogs 2 a lot more just because they went for the more satirization of modern culture, and I liked the hacking felt at a much bigger presence than Watch Dogs. Watch Dogs 1, the hacking was kind of a little side thing, right? It was way more closer to just a GTA.
Well, it was, you pushed like 3 buttons and then like poof, you had
Exactly. But in Watch Dogs 2, you have much more at your disposal. You could manipulate a lot of the environment, and they seem to be taking that to an even more insane degree in Watch Dogs Legion that I'm really excited to play. The only thing is,
go ahead.
No, the only thing is, I'm probably going to get it on consoles to the PC because it keeps saying my processor doesn't meet the recommended, but then because when you get a PC, you're going to be using this site a lot. It's called systemrequirements.lab. Essentially, it scans your computer, so it has all your specs, and it'll tell you, hey, you want to find out if your computer can run X, we'll type in, and we'll give you the recommended and the minimum, and see if you match it. It's a good way to gauge whether or not your system can run it, right?
Yeah.
And so I used that, and it said, oh, well, you meet the minimum, you don't meet the recommended for the processor. I'm like, well, great, that's meaning I'm going to have trouble hitting 6 FPS. But then when I look at the actual specs on the Uplay store, they're different. I'm like, wait. So I'm just going to play it safe, get it on console. Obviously, Valhalla is coming out, which I'm excited for.
Yeah.
Cyberpunk, obviously. Destiny 2 DLC, I mean, of course. I don't...
It's funny, we were... Oh, go ahead.
No, in reference to Godfall, I am a little more interested in it now that I've realized it's more like... It's essentially Warframe.
Yeah, it's very close. It's closer to Warframe than a lot of other things.
Yeah, like the armor. Like, I was initially disappointed with the armor not being customizable, but then when you told me, well, yeah, it's because it's the way you talked about it. Oh, they're essentially Warframes. Okay, that makes sense. And I'm really interested. I really like the fact that you can, if you get a weapon you like, and you don't want to get rid of it, you can level it up to the highest tier. I really like that as a system.
Yeah.
I think that's a really smart system.
Yeah.
Because
I
nothing...
think it's really cool.
I wish Destiny did that, because there's a lot of blue armor that looks really cool that you can't... there's no point in using.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. I've been actually looking a lot into Godfall. So again, it was one of those games that, like, I would say about a month ago, it was kind of like on that game. But I've been watching more and more of Arex's videos and sort of like what the combat's going to be in Godfall, and I'm just more and more impressed, to be honest. These guys have taken a lot of time. This game's been in development for like 4 years. And these guys have really, like, taken the time to understand the genre. You know, that's where I feel like these guys have completely, like, you know, because I was kind of excited about Anthem or whatever, but I was always sort of wary about the fact that they're like, yeah, we told them not, don't look at Destiny, don't look at the other one. And
Yeah,
these guys
that's
are
a good
always
idea.
constantly, yeah, right, yeah, but these guys are always saying what their inspirations are and where they got these ideas and how they melded them into their own game. And the combat system right now looks amazing, dude. There's critical or weak points. You can break people's stamina. You can do finishers. You can do, and all of these systems, which all have their own unique, like what you have to do them. They all have upgrade paths. So if you want to focus on breaking people's stamina, then you can do that. If you want to focus on getting more finishers, you can do that. If you want to focus on doing wide melee sweeps, you can do that. So there's just a lot of customization that I'm really excited for.
Yeah.
I honestly think that it's going to be a surprisingly good game. I'm still holding out to find out like how good, but I think the combat, from what I've seen, along with the upgrade paths that I've been seeing as well, really show a lot of promise.
I just hope they do a good job with the upgrade paths in terms of making them all viable, because the game's not very good, but Avengers is one of those games where it's like, yeah, there's multiple upgrade paths and multiple like stats fish you can spec into, but unfortunately the only one worth a damn is the pin particle stuff, because that shrinks enemies, which makes them do less damage to you, and you do more damage to them. And compare that to all the other like styles you can go into, are just not worth it. So I hope they do a better job than Avengers, granted isn't a high bar, at making all the various upgrade paths viable.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, check this out. I don't think I told you this. Check this out in terms of a cool mechanic. So, in Godfall, you have 2 weapons equipped, right? You always bring 2 weapons to all of your missions, right?
Right.
But you know how you bring 2 weapons to, like, Neo 2, right?
Yeah.
But you only ever use one. Like, I'm never switching to my axe unless I need to get a buff or something in Neo 2. This one actually has incentive for you to switch between your weapons. As you're not using a weapon, that weapon is gaining polarity. As it gains polarity, as soon as you swap to it, you do a big knockdown AoE when you swap to it after a certain amount of time, and it gets a damage buff for 30 seconds. And you can continuously trigger them, and that's another upgrade path they were talking about.
Okay,
so
that's pretty good.
Yeah, you can increase polarity time. So you do a combo with your cool weapon real quick, then you swap to the other one. If you're spec'd out, you'll be able to get that damage buff all the time because you're swapping between your 2 weapons. And I was just like, that's awesome. That's a cool system.
That is. Man, it's a shame that game got delayed on PC for a year. Man, crazy. It sure is. Man,
Yeah.
real shame.
Yeah. Oh gosh, Epic Store.
The only thing worse than Epic Store is Stadia.
Oh, Stadia. I don't know. I mean, haven't you heard the new creative director's brilliant take on Twitch streaming?
You mean the one? Yeah, you mean the one that Google Stadia distanced themselves from, and it no longer says creative director in his bio?
Yeah,
because he said a really stupid thing.
Yeah, unbelievable. It's like his whole thing was that, in case for people that don't know, basically he said that streamers and YouTubers should be paying for the rights to play video games. They should be paying the developers, which is, of course, completely backwards thinking, considering the fact that it's free publicity for your video game that you should be paying for, if anything. And in
also, it's transformative work. It's transformative work, and when you buy a game, you are buying the license for that copy of the game, which is yours to do with as you please. The only thing you can't do is redistribute it and sell it.
Yeah, it was one of the best hot takes I've seen in a while. What a legend.
And now fucking Twitch is going down the rabbit hole with the DMCA stuff and all covered material, which now a lot of people straight up are just taking down all their Twitch archives.
Oh, yeah, because of the music? Because of
fuck off. People... Yeah, I hate Twitch. I hate Twitch, man, so goddamn much.
I mean, good thing we have a good alternative in Mix. Oh.
I actually would rather stream on YouTube. Dead
I
ass.
don't know. I don't know if YouTube is really a bastion of free thinking, though.
They seem to be better than Twitch at this point.
Right now, perhaps. Yeah, that's true. Anyway, yeah. So that was my favorite hot take of the most recent times.
Dude, I love like Google like distance from them, saying that not only does Google not share these users, neither does YouTube or Facebook.
Oh yeah.
Oh my
And
god.
actually, to actually kind of touch on a different subject that's probably a little bit more, black and white, because I mean it's easy to make fun of this idiot because he's stupid and he says something stupid, but I think something else that a lot of people are kind of jumping on the bandwagon about, which I don't agree with, is the crunch time for the cyberpunk devs. I think
That was blown so far out of proportion. It's insane.
I think so too. I think it was total BS. Like again, yeah, crunch sucks, but it, people are acting as though this is the only industry ever that has some requirements for employees to come in on weekends as long as they pay them. Like this is not the only industry ever that has this happen.
Yeah.
In fact, it's very common, especially in a lot of the creative industries where you have timetables that you have to meet and everything like that, and they're matching all of Poland's laws. The people that are on the team are saying that they're being treated well.
Yeah, that's the important thing.
It's
like,
just not.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it's just not. It's not a situation that's out of the norm, and then people are so programmed nowadays to have these like negative reactions to the word crunch and everything
and
like that.
Let's be clear.
Jumped on that.
Let's be clear. It's not the same as Rockstar, where they were making people work 100-hour weeks at some point. It's not like Naughty Dog, where a worker was hospitalized due to overwork. This was 6 extra days of paid overtime, time and a half work, that they made a decision on as a studio to either delay the game or work 1 extra day a week for 6 weeks. It is not the same.
No, it's not at all.
Especially when you have people like Jason Schreier, he is trying so fucking hard, which by the way, he blocked me on Twitter for asking a question, but like, he's trying so hard to maintain that, no, it's just as bad as it seems. When the Game Informer thing came out, where the journalist like cited multiple sources within CD Projekt that talked about, we decided as a group to just work the 6 weeks. We get time and a half, so only 8 extra hours. So instead of 40 hours a week, it's 48 hours a week, right? It sucks, but it's not insane. And I remember this line. She told the journalist that at a point I was afraid to to celebrate the game going gold because people would think that it wasn't worth celebrating.
Right.
And then Jason Schreier decides to clap back. Oh yeah, well here's a post that proves I'm right, and it's a fucking Reddit post.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, Jason Schreier, regardless of everything, is a terrific journalist.
Except in this case, apparently.
Well, in this case, again, I think he's following a through line that he's followed before, and he's trying to match them up to each other, and that's not good journalism again. But regardless of it, he's very good at getting out that kind of information. But in this situation, with all the information that's out there, I just can't agree with them.
I think he's just determined to find dirt on CD Projekt to give a reason to show they're just as bad as the others. Because, like I said, how do you go against an article that has multiple sources from in the studio, and your only recourse is a Reddit post where the guy claims to be an employee? Right. It's like, dude. Right. People can lie on Reddit. I see people lie all the time on Reddit. It's not hard.
Right, exactly. It's just one of those things. And again,
it's like trusting Wikipedia.
Right. The big thing was that they said earlier that they wouldn't have any crunch, and then now they're doing it. But it's just one of those things that they had to make a decision on, and
Yeah. I think people just hate that they're so beloved. Because do you remember the shit with the whole microtransaction controversy?
Yeah, with the
multiplayer,
the standalone.
When people say like, oh, CD Projekt Red lied when they said no microtransactions would be in Cyberpunk. It's like, no, they didn't. What they said was in Cyberpunk 2077 there will be no microtransactions. And they also said they were working on a standalone multiplayer mode that was standalone and that was free to play. How do you expect free to play games to make money? You understand
again
how it works, right? Warframe is one of the best free to play games out there.
The whole idea that people are just looking for an excuse to not like this company because of how, like, because it's gained a certain reputation. Like right now, there's very few game companies that can match the reputation that CD Projekt Red has. And I think people on the internet just are looking, for a reason not to like it. And I feel like as well. Well, I felt like this. I felt like this is the same sort of symptoms that Naughty Dog had before the release of Last of Us 2 because of what had been released. And I feel like a lot of people were just jumping on that train of hating on them, or they started like pulling apart old games and shit. And I was just like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Now, to set the record straight real quick before I go a little bit farther into this topic, is I did not like the Last of Us 2's story. I thought it was bad. I think Abby was a bad character. I think the ending was so. Just again, that was not good. So I'm not defending that particular game, but at the time that it was happening, a lot of people started going back into the archives and trying to find dirt on Naughty Dog's like old games. Like I never got a whiff of any like weird stuff that was happening in their old games, and I feel like it's the same sort of symptoms that CD Projekt Red has got now. People are like, they're sniffing out shit that isn't there just so they can make an article or just so they can make a video that says CD Projekt Red is, or whatever the case might be.
They're just as bad as EA, even though they're not.
Yeah, exactly. So I just feel like nowadays, with movies, actors, entertainment in general, there's a subset of people that when something gets such a good reputation, there's just people that are just trying to poke holes in it and trying to pop the balloon or whatever.
Yeah, and let's be clear too. It's like CD Projekt Red is not perfect. They haven't made only bangers. I mean, everyone seems to forget Witcher 1 exists. That game is bad.
Yeah, right.
And Witcher 2 is great, again, but it's really clunky to go through.
It is. But, the other thing, too, I think the thing that actually really solidified them was their practices after the game came out. Like, the game is terrific, right? But $15 for their DLCs, which were absolutely amazing and could have been charged $30 for each of them and would have been worth it. Or the fact that they had
not even
constantly updating.
If you remember, Heart of Stone was only $10. And Blood and Wine was $15. It was $25 total, which was the exact same price as the expansion pass. Because most companies, they charge more for the They charge more for the DLCs to be separate to incentivize people to buy the expansion passes.
Right, exactly. So again, CD Projekt Red has earned a lot of their, a lot of the good graces that everyone has for them, not just because of the quality of the video game, because of their business practices so far. And another thing that had come out was the fact that about this crunch is that they give their employees, I believe it's 10% of all profits from all their games. They split it up between employees in profit sharing.
Yeah, and unlike Randy Pitchford, they actually go through with it.
They did that with Borderlands. Did that this year?
No, they didn't. You remember? They were supposed to get a certain amount, and they didn't because Randy spent too much money on the game itself. No. Profit sharing did happen, but they were promised a certain amount that Randy Pitchford didn't give, and the excuse was, "Well, we spent too much on making the game." And it's like, well, no, you promised people a certain percentage and a certain amount of profit sharing when the game released for lower pay. That's why they took the lower pay. You can't just change your mind to that because somehow you spent too much money in the game, which I don't think that's true at all. I think he spent too much money on the marketing and doing all sorts of unnecessary shit and didn't finance very well.
Sure. Okay. Well, either way, like the idea that like CD Projekt Red has done it for the last 5-7 years or whatever it might be for their employees, and then people were coming out on Twitter being like, "Yeah, we'll see it when we believe it," or "We'll believe it when we see it." And the guy responded, the dev from CD Projekt Red was like, "Okay, well, it's gonna happen. We'll see you in 2 months."
Oh yeah. Like, it's so ridiculous at times, dude. Twitter is the fucking... I remember I got in an argument with a guy who complained that the 2 expansions for Witcher 3 weren't free. And I was like, dude, they gave away 15 free DLCs. He goes, well, those are just extra costumes and missions. Like, those don't count. That's not DLC. It's like DLC stands for downloadable content. Downloadable content is content made after the base game that you have to download to add on to your game. No, those 15 free DLCs count as DLC, and you're mad that they charge reasonable prices for 2 very good expansions.
Right.
Fuck you.
Yeah, come on now, please.
But then again, Twitter's just a cesspool, so it do be like that.
Yeah, it's a mess. It's a mess. Sometimes it's an entertaining mess.
Did you hear the shit they're doing now with retweets?
No.
You can't just retweet something anymore, and this isn't in effect until past the election. Like now, to apparently slow the spread of misinformation, which, dude, it's Twitter. Everything's misinformed on there. It's a fucking nightmare. You can't just retweet something. You have to quote tweet it, which is really annoying. So if you if you see a dog video that you like, you can't just retweet it to show your followers.
Wait. Oh, because okay, so they're shutting it down entirely on the site.
You have to like do a quote tweet. Like, you have to put something in the quote tweet as if you're responding to it, or if you're fact checking it. It's like, fuck off.
Right.
So yeah, I think that.
Well, anyway,
I think that's about it, right?
I think we covered that, our horror stuff, and more.
Yeah, we weren't expecting to do the new stuff, but that we just got the ball rolling.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes when it happens, it happens.
All right. So where can people find your stuff?
Cool. Yeah. So I'm on BeatThatBoss.blogspot.com. I'm also on Twitch.tv/BeatThatBoss. Again, I'm relatively inconsistent on those locations, but when I do start streaming or I post something, please feel free to jump by. And as for my recommendation for the day, let me think about that for a second, because I haven't had one right now. Let me think.
You got it.
God. Well, I'm gonna go back in time here. If you haven't watched True Detective Season 1, it's a terrific season. So check it out, and it's going to be mine for the day. What about you? Where can people find you?
All right. Well, I'm a crowd named Heller. I'm starting to upload more frequently. I'm trying to upload at least weekly, maybe a little earlier than weekly, depending on how often I get the videos out. But yeah, I'm do that. You can find my Twitter with the @HellerReviews. I still have to change that tagline. I also have a Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/HellerReviews, which will be changing soon as well. But my recommendation will probably be, I don't know, because I'm not thinking of anything right now. So give me a second, because god damn it, I had it in my mind, and it just poofed away.
Yeah, I had it at the start of this podcast, but then it's gone now.
There it is. Hunt Showdown. If you want a really good spooky bayou bounty hunting game, Hunt Showdown is the way to go. Fuck it, I'm making a video on it. I'm gonna make a video on it. That's
all right, man.
Gotta
I'll
get
be
the
waiting
footage.
for it. I liked your last one on what was his name?
Harmon Smith. I have another one. Oh, I'm gonna cover his his Bloodborne video.
Oh God.
It's gonna hurt, dude. You saw how long it took me to get through 2 minutes of him. Now I'm going to go through 6.
Oh, jeez. Also, as a side note real quick about Bloodborne, don't watch that Bloodborne is genius clickbait video from someone. I don't remember who it was. But it's terrible because it is so bizarre what he points out as good about the game. It's a great game in general. Just ignore that.
Is the video called Bloodborne is Genius and Here's Why?
Yes. Yeah, that's the one.
Oh, is that Super Eye Patch Wolf? I hope not.
I don't know who it is, but what I do know is that I got about 10 minutes into it, and he was talking about all this random stuff that didn't actually have any bearing on gameplay.
Oh, that's right, H-Bomber guy. Yeah, no, he's H-Bomber guy. He's also one who made the shitty Dark Souls 2 video that Mahler responded to.
He was the guy that made the in defense of Dark Souls 2.
Yeah,
that's right.
Where he said it's not okay. There's no wrong way to have fun. There's no wrong way to play the game, but you're playing the game wrong if you're using the shield. Fuck off.
Yeah, right. What an idiot. All right, anyway. Thanks for joining us here again, and I hope you enjoyed it.
All right, and I guess that's going to be it. So once again, I'm Crowden Heller. This is Travis and Beat That Boss, and we'll see you all next time.